Hi, welcome to Better Markets. Come on in. I'm Dennis Kelleher. I'm the President and CEO of Better Markets. Better Markets, located here in Washington, D.C., is a nonpartisan, non-profit organization that promotes the public interest in the financial markets in the United States and throughout the globe. We primarily do that by advocating for transparency, oversight, and accountability throughout the financial markets and throughout the financial reform process that's going on in the United States and around the world. Let me show you quickly one of the ways we do that. This is a map that was created by a terrific public servant who works for the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, and it's a map of the banking system. But what it shows is up here is the regulated banking system, and below this line is almost entirely the unregulated banking system called the shadow banking system. The shadow banking system is where most of the problems came from that led to the financial meltdown in 2008. That's where many of the subprime loans were, the derivatives, credit default swaps, CDOs, and things like that. Bringing transparency and regulation to the entire banking system, eliminating as much as possible the shadow banking system, is a key goal of financial reform. It's one of the things we work on quite a bit. Let me show you a couple of other things real quickly. We have around the office front pages from 2008 and from the crisis. This is from September 15th of 2008 from the Wall Street Journal. The headline's "A Crisis on Wall Street as Lehman Totters, Merrill is Sold, AIG Seeks to Raise Cash." Well, of course, Lehman went bankrupt. AIG had to be completely saved by the United States government, as did Citicorp. And Merrill was sold to Bank of America, but only because the government supported it. One of the reasons we have these throughout the office is to remind people of two things. One is the massive crisis that faced this country and the massive response to that crisis to prevent the collapse of the financial system. The other reason we have these things around is to remind people of the cost to the country, to the taxpayers, to the U.S. Treasury. Many of those costs continue to this day. Let's talk about that over here for just a minute. What we have here is a financial turmoil timeline, also created by some terrific people from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. What this does is this maps the entire amount of programs and interventions in the United States to prevent the collapse of the financial system and our economy. Many people don't want to remember all those things that happen and don't want to talk about it. And some people are even misleading. Some people say, for example, the government made money on those bailout programs. Don't you know that? Those people are wrong. They're talking about 1, 2, maybe 3 of the programs. Often it's just one, TARP. But the truth is, all of these programs were undertaken over the last couple of years to prevent the financial system from collapsing, and a good number of these programs are still in place and still being used. That's not all that was done. If you look over here, this is the international timeline. This is what was done throughout the world by other governments. If you take these two timelines, what you have is the entire universe of what had to be done to prevent the financial collapse and the economic collapse. We're talking about trillions and trillions of United States dollars spent, lent, pledged, or otherwise used to make sure that the financial system didn't go down and take the economy with it. Now, why is that so important? Because financial reform has to happen to prevent that from happening. If we let things stay the way they were before, it's going to happen again. It might still happen again, but the way to reduce the likelihood is to have strong rules, strong financial reform, transparency, accountability, and oversight. That's what Better Markets works on behalf of the public. You can see what we're doing at our website, www.bettermarkets.com. You'll also find a bunch of information about financial reform generally. I hope you visit the website, and I hope you find it useful.